got that. We go here.
Mr. Mayor, you are recording.
All right, thank you. 2 seconds as I forward one more email over to my other one so I can pull it up and have another look. There. Good. Excellent. All right. Teams. And here we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is 6:06, March 9th, 2022, which I believe is the first day of the mixed championships. Mayor Kelly, I believe you were over for the first rock.
Yes, I certainly was. I honestly did not walk in there expecting it to be as quite as an event as it turned out to be.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Excellent. So
I wasn't wearing the sweater. I dressed formally. I just down dressed as soon as I got back home.
That's funny. I updressed as soon as I got home. Just up the hoodie. I was like, at least I can look business up top. I said.
Is it broadcast on TV by any chance, Mayor Crane? Or Mayor Kelly, sorry?
I don't think.
I know that Okotoks, like Brent was there, but I didn't see any major, like I didn't see CTV or CBC or anything like that. Now, today's the opening. It's going all weekend, and they said the night to be there was Friday night. So I'm going Friday night. If anyone else wants to join me, it'd be some great publicity.
Heather will be there for sure. So
Heather will be there. I don't think they are recording it anywhere, but there'll be Facebook pages set up that they'll share some of the games.
Good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Give it a little PR.
You will want to get
support.
You will want to get there early as there's basketball tournament this weekend. Zones is going on at the high school as well, so there'll be no parking available unless you're first there in the morning.
Good point. That's right. Basketball this weekend too. We did the junior zones last week, and now it's seniors this week. So happening spot, Black Diamond Arena area this week. So okay. So we opened the meeting at 6:06, March 9th, 2022. Agenda approval 3.1. Actually, first, is there any additions to the agenda? I was actually going to ask, but you can do this at another meeting as well, but I'm just going to throw it out there just so we don't forget it. An update on the summer games for 2023, where Black Diamond's at, how that's all moving along, the plan, who's going to be building the track. We'd love to hear an update on that, give that a bit of PR as well. But maybe we could get that at the next meeting, unless there's something exciting you guys could tell us later. That'd be cool if there's time. Other than that, any additions to the agenda? Not seeing any hands. Haven't heard any whispers. So just note that one for later on. 3.1 then. Approval of agenda for the Joint Friendship Agreement Committee meeting for March 9th. Can I get a motion for that, please?
I'll give you the motion for that, Mayor Crane. Councillor Lalonde.
Thank you, Councillor Lalonde. All in favor? Hands nice and high. And if your camera's off, give me a digital signal with a thumbs up. Or you can turn your camera on and you can give us the thumbs up. Or you can turn your microphone on and give us an aye or a nay. Thank you, Daryl. So I need Chad, Cindy, Brendan, Ted, Curtis.
That's a yay for me.
Thank you.
Hey, Mayor Crane, just a quick, what you're on the Teams platform, right?
Yep.
So if you hover over the screen, you should get the menu bar. And then if you switch to large gallery, you should be able to see everybody.
No, I can see everybody who has their camera on.
Yeah, but the ones you mentioned, many of them have their camera on.
Oh, then why can't I see their pictures? I've got gallery up. Okay,
All good.
that's fine. We're carried. I'll figure that out. All right, adoption of the previous minutes. 4.1, joint friendship agreement from February 9th, 2022. Can I get that?
Curtis is giving it to you.
Curtis, thank you. Yeah, so that's very strange that I can't see. I can see Paul, but I can't see any of the others. All right. Okay, Curtis, Councillor Dixon gives us that motion. Any questions, concerns, errors, and or omissions for the minutes for February 9th, 2022?
I didn't see any specifics. So.
Seeing none, then I will ask the question. All in favor? Hands high.
It's a yes for me.
Thank you. First, perfect. There's the digital hands. Excellent. Thank you. And that is carried. Delegations, we have none, but we do have Mr. Paul here, and we'll be talking to you shortly. And we have old business 6.1, 2022 rollout of the 3-stream curbside collection. All right. Who would like to lead off? Paul, I know you're here, and I believe there's a presentation. Is there an introduction we would like from you from staff, either Sean or Charlene, before you get rolling?
If I can, Mayor Crane, there's been a working group that's been meeting on a regular basis, which includes Craig, myself, Tom Google from Town of Black Diamond, as well as Paul Lyons, working on the implementation of the 3-stream rollout. And on behalf of the working team, I'd like to introduce Paul to be able to present the plan to go forward.
Excellent. Thank you for that, CAO Brown. Paul, turn off your microphone, and the floor is going to be yours, my friend. If everyone else could mute while Paul does his presentation, that would be perfect. And I will try and figure out all the cameras.
So, members of council, thank you very much. I also want to acknowledge the CAOs for each area, other members that are here at the meeting. Thank you very much for having me. So my name is Paul Lyons. I'm the Waste Services Manager at the town of Okotoks. And I, as CAO Brown has said, I have been the liaison, as it were, with both towns in implementing this project. Now, a lot of the information, and this is just background, there was a regional solid waste management plan from 2020, and it pointed to some initiatives that we could undertake as a region. These would assist with cost containment. It should result in better diversion and structuring programs so that they're quite similar to reduce confusion, things like that. So I know there's a presentation that was sent over, and I think I do have a copy of that presentation. So I'm just gonna use my presentation as I go along and speak to some of the things that are contained in the presentation. So we have been working, we've been meeting weekly, and the aim is to ensure that the information that is going to be provided to residents and the program design are going to meet the needs of the community. It is a privilege for me to be working with the group. I was there when I designed Okotoks' current program, and so I've been focusing for the last 18 years on waste management and waste management principles. So the philosophy that's been used here is definitely service, cost containment, to standardize what we're doing, and for to ensure that the service we're provided is really the best that we're able to provide currently. Now, part of the process and I'm speaking to the second slide, is the service delivery. Okotoks, some years ago, in fact, 3 years ago, Okotoks had a discussion with all the municipalities, and they were asked if they wanted to join Okotoks or to be mentioned in RFPs that Okotoks was issuing. And so what was done at that time was we asked the contractor to also provide a rate for all the towns if they were interested. And so at this time, the potential contractors, all the respondents to our request for proposals indicated that, okay, if these towns joined, this is what they think they would pay at that time for the service. And so for a number of years, Turner Valley Black Diamond and High River had an arrangement, even the town of Nanton had a number that would be charged to them if they joined in this regional initiative. The products that are going to be collected, the recycling and the organics, will not be going to the landfill. The landfill does not accept organic material, food waste as it were. They do leaf and yard waste. And we currently don't have a recycling facility to do the sorting. So this product will be going into Calgary for collection. It is excellent to see that both towns are now embracing some of that principle from 1997, which was when the province of Alberta had the Too Good to Waste campaign. And part of it looked at how to reduce waste. Since that, many changes have been made, and now we'll talk about zero waste principle or philosophy. And that is what both your towns have decided to embrace. And so it was a great step when both councils last year decided to move in this direction. What it would mean is we could extend the life of the landfill. So, and that has always been one of the goals, to achieve diversion. And I spoke earlier on to the regional solid waste management plan that was, it was initiated by all the towns because all the towns had signed on to gain access to funding to do this study.
Paul,
and
can I interrupt for just a second?
Sure.
Could you share your screen if you've got something on there that you could put up for everyone?
Sure, I can.
And again, Curtis, you keep eyes on hands. Everyone use digital if you can. So again, if you see me put my hand up, that's recognizing that I have you in the queue. So thank you for that, Charlene. And yeah, go ahead again, Paul. Sorry for interrupting.
I was wondering if the members already had a presentation. Do they have a copy of that presentation? Oh, you did. Okay. So I can go ahead and share my screen.
Excellent.
So from an overview, what we're proposing as a group, and residential garbage collection is already being managed through the town of Okotoks, and we are proposing to continue be the managing partner for this initiative. What we're adding is the recycling and the organics collection. But along with that, what both towns will be receiving in clockwise from there, promotion and education. And this is a critical aspect of any successful waste management program. it's probably the hardest area, and it has to do a lot with compliance. But that's the last piece of what we do from a promotional and education standpoint. What we want to do is to provide residents with the tools that they need in order for them to understand what goes where, how does it work, how does the system work. And so both towns will have access to someone from the town of Okotoks to provide that kind of information to help residents to be successful with this program. Then there's cart management. Currently, your carts, all your garbage carts are managed through a software that is owned by Okotoks. And this is where the RFID technology comes in. Our trucks are equipped with RFID readers. They read the cards when they are picked up, or they do other things. They will take photographs of cards that are not out. And this has been quite successful in many jurisdictions across Canada and the United States, as it reduces callbacks in some instances, but it also adds a level of accountability to residents. And so the cart management group or technician, he comes out, he fixes cards, he replaces cards, things like that. So that's another service. Then there's a customer support. And right now, Okotoks is already getting questions regarding the program from your communities. So that's the level of support that is being provided. All calls for service, whatever it is, even if someone is calling and say, my garbage was missed and we have photographs to say otherwise, all those are routed to Okotoks for that level of customer support. And so that will be provided in this model. And then there's a contract management. So currently, the town of Okotoks has a contract with TNT Disposal. And that was, he was selected through the regular RFP process. And so Okotoks will manage everything having to do with the contract, the collection, the disposal, and all the headache that goes with it. And so that is what's been offered in this program. The next slide that is there, and the slide is important in the sense that there are assumptions that are being made that is linked directly to your tonnage. And so for 2021, Turner Valley had 688 metric tons, Black Diamond 640 metric tons, and the number of bins being serviced or residents being serviced is slightly different, but you're very close to being producing the same amount of garbage per community, per resident. An audit was done last year, and this audit is being used as a baseline going forward. At the time, 43% of the content and 46% in Turner Valley was organics, and there were 20% recyclables in Black Diamond's audit, and for Turner Valley it was 8%. I won't go into the reasons or speculate why this was so, but this gives us an understanding of some of the areas that we'll be able to tap into to divert this material from the landfill. But looking at the percentage of organics, one thing that that I'd like to point out here is organic waste does not break down in the landfill because of lack of oxygen. And so it produces methane gas. And I know we don't talk a lot about methane gas, but the reality is that methane gas is, depending on the the literature you're reading could be anywhere from 22 to 26% or 25% more destructive as an ozone depleting substance when compared with carbon. And we've been spending a lot of time on carbon and things like that. So that's why it's important to remove this material from the landfill. At the recent landfill meeting, FRSC meeting, the question was asked about gas capture. And that was currently not something that the landfill was doing. And because of the threshold that are there, but also that it's not really economical. So it's more destructive right now to have this material in the landfill. What the team has decided is that June 1st rollout would be the day, or that's the day that we're looking for as the rollout day. And that it's possible that that's where we're going. I want to continue to say that a lot of what is happening here is preliminary. We're still working through piece by piece how this would look so that it satisfies the need of the communities. And there are two other bullet points on my slide that speaks to the recycling center. We don't know about that, and there's a transfer station. Those are decisions that has to be made in the coming weeks or month. So during our discussion and from last year, the team decided that the size of the carts were going to be standardized, and as such, you already had 240 carts for garbage, and what we're going to be doing going forward is issuing recycling and organics carts that are the same size, with the caveat in bracket there that there might be some row houses or beerland condos that you will consider providing a smaller cart to, based on the fact that they may not have enough yard space, or they have a contractor who is managing some of that organic waste. So, and the rationale there, there's a cost implication, there's a program management and consistency in the service that is provided throughout the community. Any questions so far? No questions, so I'll continue. We did a cost comparison, and preliminary, there is a rate that we're looking for, and we are doing a comparison between the rates that are seen in Okotoks. We picked Cochrane and Chestermere, who I'm going to say will have a similar system like Turner Valley and Black Diamond. And we looked at High River, and we only picked their garbage rate. And those are all monthly rates that are there. So for 2022, as I say, we're looking at the residential garbage and recycling facility rates to perhaps remain the same as 2020. And when we say that, currently, Turner Valley, for example, collects $6 for recycling center. In fact, both communities do. There is a difference in what is charged for garbage: $14 in Turner Valley, $12.92 in Black Diamond. So that's one of the consideration that's currently on with the group that we're considering. There is the collection to be launched in 2020, June, as I said before. We still estimated that the tonnage for garbage is going to remain at $70. So this slide was was developed even prior to the landfill confirming that $70 was going to be the tonnage rate for 2022. Then there's a combined tonnage estimate of 1,100 metric tons that we're estimating for garbage. And this is an estimate based on last year's tonnage. The assumption again here is that there would be a 13% reduction in garbage due to putting this new blue recycling program in place, and then a 25% reduction in garbage due to the new organics program. So that's about 300 tons that we anticipate would be diverted in a program that for 7 months, because that's what we're looking at.
Now,
This
Paul,
slide,
if I could, is that both communities combined? Those
yes,
tonnage okay.
yes. So the approach that we have been taking is we're all in and we're doing the same thing. And why? Everything that has been done so far in terms of garbage, for example, garbage collection, both towns when the administration members from all three towns sat down to negotiate service, it was all the same level of service for the same fee.
Okay, excellent. Question from Councillor Waring for you, Paul. And so, Paul, what I'm going to do is, because there's a little bit of lag, if I see a question, I'm just going to cut you off right where you're at, and then we'll get to the question, and then we'll just pick right back up. So, Councillor Waring, you're up.
One of the questions I keep getting asked by the residents when they've read the information we put out is that we're not going to allow them to put glass and plastics in the recycle. So what do we do with the glass and the plastics?
So it is not necessarily, so to clarify plastic, I'll start, that's the easier one right now. And what is happening is plastic bags or plastic film. And right now, the group, our group have not yet fully determined what items are in and what items are out. So that question is a little premature. However, we've done some research, as it were, and I have communication from the Recycle Council of Alberta, for example, that offered some suggestion on what items will be in and what items will be out. I would ask, please, for you to allow the team to determine that in its discussion with the processors, and then we will be able to come back with a list of items that will be in and those that will be out.
Okay, so the items that are out, they'll just go into the straightforward garbage. Is that correct?
That is the most likely place that it will end up.
Okay, thank you.
I have another question from Councillor Martin. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mayor Crane. Mr. Lyons, my name is Hazel and I'm with the town of Okotoks. And I have just a couple questions for you. Will residents be able to purchase the compost?
So part of what I've done in the past with previous processor of organics, we used to get that material for free. And that was an agreement with Okotoks and the previous provider. We're not sure what's going to happen yet. What Okotoks has been doing and will continue to do is to provide residents with access to compostable material, and that is free to the residents in Okotoks. And we will look at options. I know that Craig and CAO Brown will take your question, and we will discuss that when we meet again as part of our regular agenda to determine how that may, if you have access, and I will reach out to the processor, and then that will be flushed out later on.
I have just one more question to Paul. When the city of Calgary did their rollout of their organics during their promotion campaign, the city allows for pet feces. Will residents be allowed to place their pet feces in with the organics?
So again, that's a program design, and I am going to, we will align as best as possible what Okotoks does with what Turner Valley and Black Diamond is going to do for that level of consistency to remove some of the challenges that we have when one resident moves from one area to the next. So we're trying to standardize that level of program. But the specifics, that is a question that would be directed to Turner Valley and Black Diamond's representative as to, is this something that the community would require? And so that's some of the things that normally takes place. We could put everything on the table, and if both communities says, yes, we want everything, then because the contractor processing this material would be the same, then there might not be an issue.
And who will be the contractor? Is that going to be TNT?
TNT collects, but right now the material from Okotoks is going into Calgary for processing as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Paul. I really appreciate your help.
Mayor Crane, I believe Councillor Thompson might have had her hand up.
Councillor who?
Thompson, maybe not though.
Thompson?
No, no question from me.
Okay, Hazel, if you can just put your hand down then.
Yep.
Perfect. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
If you just use that same little high five hand, that pops up on my screen and lets me know that I can scroll over and find you. So let's definitely use that. All right, Paul, looks like we've cleaned the field for comments. So back to you. Oh, hold on. Someone put up a hand. Councillor Kloiber, go ahead.
Sorry, thought I could time my supper, but I can't. How solid are we on the costs for the communities? Is that pending more work from the group, or that is the final number?
I would recommend that there is some more discussion that will need to take place. That again is something that the group will need to keep evaluating. There are numerous things that are happening, and what we'll try to do is to ensure that whatever comes out finally is going to be the best possible deal that we can find to ensure that the program is not cost prohibitive. And when I say that, I know that there are going to be issues. There are going to be families that say we can't, and there are going to be families that embrace this program. So the aim and objective of the group is to work the numbers based on our understanding of all the factors and parameters that need to be addressed. If you look, and I might be, a question like this really is, I am not totally qualified to speak to it. And why I'm saying so is I don't know the situation for each municipality. The desire is to combine, or this is a combinations slide that we have just put up. And so it is better for each community to be able to determine at the end of the day, what is it that needs to be addressed, and are they adequately addressed? because we talked about a few slides before, I'd say slide number 5, when we alluded to some of the services that no decision has been made about as yet, like the Recycle Center, for example. So as of today, this is the best guess based on all the information that we have. And we want to ensure that as we work together as a team, that we still keep it as close as possible to where it needs to be.
Okay, thank you. Charlene, I see you've got your hand there.
Yeah, just in regards to that, I think, and Paul said it very eloquently, I think our group is still working through the process of what the rate involvement will be and what the budget involvement will be, because there's contractual pieces that we need to address, as well as service delivery pieces that we need to address. On top of that, we also we have to remember that there's administrative costs on both the municipality side to deliver that program, whether it's, the utility billing or whether it's the involvement of public works, and what does that piece need to look like. So we're working through that process at this time.
Okay, thank you for that. I have Brendan, and then I have Deputy Mayor Holiday. So Mayor Kelly, over to you. Charlene.
Thank you, Mayor Crane. Mr. Lyons, thank you very much for the presentation so far. Great stuff. This, as much as this is in the early stages, we appreciate all the hard work. I just had a question in regards to the percentages, and perhaps just looking for a little bit of clarity here. On page 8 of 16, under budget assumptions, when it comes to the 13% reduction in garbage disposed due to the recycling program and 25% reduction due to the new organics program, I'm kind of conflicted a little bit where those numbers come from, because when I look at the previous page and it shows 43% organics and 46% organics for both towns respectively, how did you come up with 25%? Because that, I see the recycling one is very close, where you could justify 8% and 20% would give you almost 13. It would give you 12 or very close to it. So do you mind just expanding on that a little bit? I assume you're leaving yourself a little bit of leeway there. But yeah.
So a lot of this is based on the experience that I have in the industry. And so for the benefit of both councils, you could, the literature says that you could be able to capture, if you took your garbage and separated, about 20% or 21% would be recyclable material, plastics, things like that. And that's by weight. And then the garbage should be 20%. So 60, and I would say it should be less than that. 60 to 65% should be organics.
Okay.
But if we take, for example, Okotoks program that is 5 years old, our audit last year still found 40% of what was in the garbage could have been placed in the green organics garden. And so these numbers that are here is based on my professional recommendation that in the first year of a brand new program, it's going to take a lot of time for residents to adapt to this kind of a program. And so that's where 13% comes from. And in the first year of an organics program, the maximum that I have seen collected was 30%. And Okotoks was 26, 27%. So I used that, plus I have data from Airdrie. I had worked there in the past as well on their very organics program. And so 25% is, from my professional experience, a good number to capture. And it would be great. Did we lowball? Maybe by a few percentage, but I think this is great for us.
Okay, excellent. Follow up, Mayor Kelly, before I move on.
I think experience says a lot. So I really appreciate you taking the time to answer that. Thank you, Mr. Lyons.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense that the education program is going to be a large component of this. All right, I've got Deputy Mayor Holiday, then I have CAO Brown.
Yeah, thanks so much, Paul. This is a great presentation, and I'm super excited for this program. As the years go on, like I know we negotiated a contract with Okotoks for our garbage. If our tonnage and our tipping fees do go down, will that be adjusted over time? Because I know those were based on not having a recycling and organics curbside program. I'm assuming it will be, but just maybe a quick yes. Would be good to hear.
Yeah, a quick yes is what we're looking at, and part of the program design, it will address some of these issues. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Brown.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate what Paul was saying around the educational piece. So our audit showed that between the two municipalities, we could potentially have a 40%. And I'm generalizing, please don't take these numbers to heart, but we could probably have a 40% reduction or diversion rate from the landfill. But the education component is going to take a long time. And so I think we have to recognize that piece as we're going forward with this program, because we've never had an organic, we've had recycling, we've had people taking their recycling to the depot, but we haven't had full uptake on it. We've had, because that was a self-service piece. And we're introducing an organic program, and people will need to learn how that process works, because that diversion rate, even as achieved in our audit, will not be achieved for a number of years, because it will take time for people to learn how to do that process. And so that's, I think what the team is being is fairly conservative in their numbers. Just to be able to offset the tipping fees that go to the landfill versus the tipping fees that potentially go to the other facilities.
Thank you. All right, I see I've got one more. I got Councillor Gordon up here next. All right, Councillor Gordon. Oh, yeah. So Charlene, if you could turn off yours as well. And Brendan, I saw yours up again. Sorry for that.
No, kind of to pick up here. Sorry about that. Kind of pick up a little bit on what CEO Brown has mentioned about training and educating what goes in what bin and whatnot. In our committee of the whole meeting last night, we got the first look at the waste management bylaw, and section 9 in each section makes reference to what goes in each bin and what cannot go in each bin. But it also made clear in reference that the am I freezing up and going back and forth? Sorry about that.
You're good.
Okay, sorry. But it also made reference that the bin would not be collected should those items be within. So I'm wondering what kind of compliance audit would be going on a regular basis to make sure that incorrect items are not in those bins. So is there a compliance audit is what I'm asking.
So currently our team has not discussed all that's going to happen. And I stated earlier on, and it was only today that I had asked a member of my team in Okotoks to prepare for me a list of all the items that Okotoks collects in its carts. So that would be one of the first steps. Part of education is the audit, for example. And so, yes, we have part of what our cart management technician does is random cart audits. And these random cart audits, they are then used to help the community. So we could take 10 carts and we look inside those 10 carts and it tells us something. A piece of our contract with our recycling partner right now, or the company that processes the material and the organics, is that both will provide photographs if there are compliance issues. So that's another tool that is used, but that is kind of that is a broader brush. And when I say a broader brush, it comes back as a penalty to the towns, and it would say your material has more than 6% contamination. Here are the issues, and this is what we had to do with the material. And it could end up going directly to landfill because it's so contaminated. And then there is a surcharge on top of your disposal rate to get it into a landfill. So I hope that does answer your question, to say that there are checks and balances that are done in order to ensure that we have the information so that we can share it with the residents, and not just share, but work with them to improve. Yes.
Yeah, if I may, through the chair, a quick follow-up. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate the compliance piece. Random audits are always good, and how detailed they can be. Can you speak to the surcharge? Say what would be an average amount of a surcharge? The reason I ask that, as we're still reviewing the fees that we want to make sure, because a utility should be a total complete cost recovery. What would be a potential surcharge? Because 6% is a pretty low threshold, in my opinion. And so what would be an average surcharge, please?
So it depends. And when I say that, I've never been a part of a program that has paid 1 cent more for disposal than the agreed upon price. But for material going into Calgary, then what I would anticipate is you would pay X plus the disposal cost, and it depends on where that facility takes the material. So I don't have a number to give you, because I also don't know the rates for those individual companies. Unfortunately, recyclable material has been one of the hardest material to manage. And so the contamination rate in recycling has been high. And even for the city of Calgary, with all the machinery that they have in place, and I mean both automated system and knowledge from the staff that they have, they see a very high, I'm talking up to more than 20% contamination going into their recycling facility. So that does pose a challenge, but we're confident that based on what CAO Brown has alluded to, many people have been doing the recycling. And I would say there is less confusion about what goes into your green cart as opposed to what goes into a blue cart. And that is because in a blue cart program, we say put this but not this, put this plastic but not this plastic. In a green cart, when we say put yard waste is for the most part self-explanatory. And if we say put food waste, which is anything that you've cooked, or the peels or peelings that result from preparing food, that is quite straightforward. And so what Okotoks has seen, which is one of the best within southern Alberta that I know of is that we have like 1% contamination in our green cart. So I think that with the knowledge that we have, and if we have the program in place, we'll be able to work with residents to get a product going into these facilities that would be contamination free or very low contamination.
All right, thank you for that, Paul. You can put your hand down, Councillor Gordon. Councillor Lalonde, you had your hand up and then you put it down. So did you have a question? Did you want to follow up?
No, I'm quiet for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, and I think I have Chief Sean, is that you?
Yes, that is Mayor Crane. I just want to reiterate what CAO Brown had said earlier. And when in terms of rates, our administration teams are actually meeting, or right as we speak, trying to arrange a meeting to go over the bylaw and to discuss some of those issues related to the rate that Ms. Brown brought forward. And we do have some considerations that need to be contemplated as we develop that rate. So I don't want to get stuck on that during this meeting. But suffice it to say, I think it's in all our best interest that we roll this program out as inexpensively as possible and still do a full cost accounting for the recycling and organics program and our waste program. So I just want to throw that out to suggest that we are still working with Paul and our admin teams on trying to flesh those items out.
Okay, thank you. And with that being said, so the 2140 that we saw on the earlier slide, that is Mr. Lyons' Okotoks cost to provide the service. Is that correct?
Yes.
Exactly. So when we look at like a Cochrane, for example, they're at 21 or 28. Okotoks is at 24. So Okotoks is a perfect example. Then you've built in your eco center and your replacement costs and some reserve policy, and that's where you landed at the 2435.
Yeah, that is correct.
Excellent. So that's what we're still working on, Mr. Patience, is those small increments that need to be calculated. We won't even talk about price of gas. That's just, nobody wants to hear about that. But okay, so good. So we know then that those are the hard costs, 2140. We still have some refining to do. So the final exact number isn't going to be at this meeting. That'll be in a future meeting. But what we really want to secure is that June 1st is our rollout date. Our education program is moving and we start getting the bins into position now, correct?
So you're correct. And my slide there speaks to some of the next steps. So both CAOs talk about the waste bylaw that you're currently working on. Then we will need to complete the promotion and education plan, which would include some updates to both towns' website. We're currently working on some like a brochure that will go out with all the material. Each resident will be provided with a green cart, and I don't know, the slides all had different images. So there's a green cart, and the previous slide had a blue cart, and the previous one had a black cart, and we also have a kitchen pail. So that's a small container that goes with the green cart. We'll provide in some additional, just a small trifold brochure or pamphlet with this when the carts go out, and we will provide additional information and items that can go into the blue cart that will be provided to residents, really giving them a start on not just written information, but some imagery so that they can see some of those items that go in. So we're working on that. There's cart distribution, and this is where we're going to switch the current blue carts that is used in Turner Valley over to black. And this is slated to happen next week. So residents are aware that we're going to be coming through and doing that change. There is decisions that both towns will have to make. There is still the service agreement for us to have. So not just us and not just Okotoks and Turner Valley and Black Diamond, but there is service agreement with TNT to add to have them start doing the pickup service. So all that are things that we're currently working on as a group to have all this ready for June 1st.
Excellent. Charlene had her hand up here. Thank you for being patient, Charlene. I wanted to just let Paul finish up there. The floor is yours.
No, Mayor Crane, I think Paul's put it very eloquently as far as what we need to do as far as the process goes. The rates as they stand right now, there is a little, just to clarify, there is a little bit of admin in there, but it's not fully, from my understanding, the full amount of admin that needs to be put in there. That's just basically the service agreements and the tax and utility, and so a little bit of postage as far as the bills going out. There is some other considerations around the work around the public works managers and some work around finance that also needs to be included in that piece. But is it something that's insurmountable at this point in time? I wouldn't suggest it is, and it's just going to take some conversations between the two municipalities to align the rates to make that work most effectively.
Absolutely. What do we have up here? What is this now? This is tipping fees. Was that just a new slide that you were not supposed to see, Paul?
No, that was just a part of the report from the Regional Solid Waste Management Plan from 2020. I clicked on it by mistake, but I just have it up in case there was any question relating to that I needed to answer. I was just reviewing it prior to the start of the meeting.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. All right, I'm going to open up the floor to all of council again for questions of clarity. I think the big one obviously is getting those final numbers, but I'm opening it up. Stick up your hand and I will address you as I see you.
Councillor Dixon has a question.
Councillor Dixon, go ahead. Thank you, Mayor Kelly.
Yeah, I'm just curious. I've recently seen some documentaries, if you will, in regards to recycling and how a lot of times the stuff that is put in our recycling bins may or may not actually end up being recycled. And can you just speak to that, whether where sort of Calgary and Okotoks are in regards to that? I know you'd mentioned 20%. 20% contamination. So does that 20% then end up in a landfill again, or what are the chances that this recycling stuff is going to end up back in the landfill?
So yes, there is a possibility. If we look at what has happened with, I'll be blunt. The material that we were sending to China years ago was garbage. And so they had a right to stop taking it. As a result, I think that North America, and it wasn't Canada that was practicing most of this. A lot of it was being practiced by some facilities that still exist in the United States that collects everything in one cart. So they give you a cart and say, throw everything inside there. And then they take it into a facility, a material recovery facility, and then they try to separate it into organics, garbage, and recycling. And so that material was ending up in China, and they have no longer been taking it. Now, over the last year, even with COVID, and Okotoks is involved in some of this marketing. So one of the things that I also do is I market the material that comes through the Eco Center. And I've seen the price for mixed paper, for example, move from minus $50 to $60 in the last maybe 15 to 18 months. So there is market for the material here in North America. The current trend is that a lot of material that are collected are now going into facilities that are close by. So the material that comes into our facility goes directly to, most of it, Merlin Plastic, which is in BC. The facility that we're sending our curbside recycled material to uses the same facility in BC for its product. So there isn't a lot of external market right now for our plastic. There still is. Could some of the materials still end up in Southeast Asia? Yes, it could. But right now, the market is literally saying, you sort the material here in North America, you pre-process it to the point where it's now pellets. Then they buy the pellets back from you. And that's what the Chinese market is currently doing. If the material is so contaminated that it cannot be processed, then yes, it could end up exactly where you don't want it to go. And that is why it's so important for us to, at the start, which is where we're at now, to start providing information to our residents about how we can be successful. So the entire vision, and if we can eloquently share that vision and then convince our residents that it is good not just for us here in Foothills region, but for the environment as a whole, I think that we can have that level of success where the material does not end up in the garbage.
Well, that's perfect. Thank you. I appreciate that. And just as a quick follow-up then, is there any procedures in place where we would be able to track as we move forward that, you know, because we're sorting it well and whatnot, that it is ending up in the proper facilities and not sort of circling back, if you will? Is there any way we can go back a year from now and say, you know what, this has been a success or otherwise?
So yes, there is. One of the problem has become market. And so the processors a year and a half, 2 years ago, willingly shared where all the material was going. Because of the competition that is involved, they have tightened up somewhat. So they're not telling you exactly where it's going. The advantage we have is that I am using some of the same brokers to broker the material that is dropped off at the Eco Center in Okotoks. So I have an understanding there. I think there's a clause, there might be a clause that we had tried to put in, or in fact, we tried to put that clause in to say, you must tell us on a quarterly basis where the material goes. And for this processor, he said, yes, we'll give you in a roundabout way, but we're not going to give you the specifics of exactly where it's going, just because of the sensitivity of that exists in the market today.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for that, Paul. Thanks for the questions, Mr. Dixon. Charlene, I see you there.
Yeah, I do believe that ethical resourcing of the suppliers is a really important point, especially for our team. We want to ensure that the product is going to the right place for the right purposes. And our team is working really hard to make sure that we have that information. so that items just don't go into the landfill. The whole concept is to extend the life of the landfill by diverting a whole bunch of product, and that's the main point of this project. It provides another piece for the residents, but we also know informally that Alberta Environment is not going to be giving land for landfills. And I know that 50, 75 years sounds like a really, really long time, but that's the life expectancy of the landfill. So in 50 to 75 years, if the world doesn't change significantly in the next 10, we do have to be concerned about that. We do have to be concerned about that ethical resourcing of where products go. And we're very conscientious of that as a team that's working together.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. I see Councillor Vandenhoek, and then I have 3 people with their hands up. So back to Dixon. Okay, Chad, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Crane. So I just have a quick question regarding you talked about the geez, why can't I get my words straight? But the contaminated matter that ends up in the recycling facilities. So those recycling facilities in Calgary, with the contaminated matter, does that come back to the Foothills landfill, or does that go to the Calgary landfill?
So the material would not come back to our landfill.
Okay.
There's a policy that the Foothills landfill, the commission, in fact, a few years ago, spent some money to research where the waste is originating. And the decision was it wasn't coming from outside the region, outside of what they accept and they know it's coming in. So it's not coming back here. So it would end up in a Calgary landfill, for example, or it can end up in Red Deer County. So there are many landfills that are, I'm going to say, cheaper than Calgary and cheaper than Foothills. And so waste haulers are just bulking that and transporting it either north or further east.
Okay, and then I guess just a follow-up. Is there a price on that material that's the contaminants that they would charge back to the towns?
There is. And I know that question was asked before, and I said it has never happened with Okotoks. There is always an understanding that when you're entering into a new program, that there would be some issues, and so there is that piece. We're committed to a rigorous promotion and education program that will help to hopefully reduce that. Anything is possible, and all that would do is, from a mathematical standpoint, the truck shouldn't pick up more than about 3.5 tons of material. So if we say it was $100 a ton, we're looking at $350 for that load that might be contaminated, and then there would be a surcharge on that. So you might end up paying, instead of 100, you might end up paying $150 a ton to get rid of that load, as opposed to $100. So it's not that the cost is huge, but it could be if this is a constant occurrence. But my calculation is just for the benefit of both councils and administration to sort of understand what that cost could be.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Vandenhoek. Councillor Dixon, I see your hands back up.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up with CAO Brown's comments there, and she was mentioning that the committee or the group was looking at, tracking this waste and stuff like that. And I think that's a very valuable component when we talk about getting the community to buy in and the education component and all that. And I think it's, I'm really encouraged to hear that you guys are looking into that, and I hope that we'll be able to provide that information to the public. As we move forward, because I think it's going to be very valuable. People are going to wonder, and if we can say, hey, this 20% of our waste has been recycled through this and that, I think that's going to be important. So great, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And if you can just put your hand down, Curtis, so I can see anyone else is popping up, that'd be great. I'm not seeing anyone, just scrolling. All right, so do we have a recommendation for tonight that we want to have? Or are we still waiting on the final numbers to come in terms of reserve policies and so on?
Yeah, Mayor Crane, I was just going to give us a motion to accept for information as we wait for the working group to complete their work. Okay,
I'll take that motion. With that, I'll make the comment, and this can go to Charlene or CAO or Paul. Is there any direction you guys need from our working group here, the JFAC group, in terms of what you need to go looking for numbers?
That rests with your administration. So CAO Brown, in my view, and from your CAO, Sean.
Okay, Charlene, I saw your hand, so if you want to make a comment, that'd be great.
Yeah, I think that this was to provide today's session was to provide council an update. I believe that we are going to be working on a bylaw, which will have the rate structure in place. We have done our first piece of community education in both communities, where there's been flyers that have gone out with the utility bills, and I believe Turner Valley did a mail drop this week. Advertising the program. Part of the whole piece that we have to be really cognizant of is the citizens, although we may have some that, we've heard from, the majority of them are not really aware of the curbside program, whether it be organics and or recycling. And we'll be rolling out that program fairly shortly. So the whole piece is just making sure community's aware of council's intentions.
Okay, thanks, Charlene. Councilor Rob, I see you.
Thank you, Mayor Green. Question to Charlene. You mentioned bylaw. Last evening at our meeting, we had a look at a bylaw. Are you developing one independent of that, or have you been involved in developing the bylaw that we had a look at last night? Because it seems to me that we should make the same bylaw if it's for the same use service.
I think Charlene, no, you're frozen.
I can answer that, perhaps, Mayor Green.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
No, we're working on a joint bylaw. We just happened to have the luxury of having a committee of the whole meeting last night. Black Diamond has been sent over the drafts. They've provided some comments at this point, and we are, as we speak, setting up a meeting with our admin teams to go over comments, and Black Diamond's council is certainly going to have a blush on it sooner rather than later. And then we'll bring it back, make amendments, and bring it back hopefully to both councils so that we can approve a joint bylaw that's the same in both municipalities in preparation for moving forward into amalgamation. So it's a bylaw we wouldn't have to reconsider it moving forward.
Excellent.
Thank you very much, Sean.
Thank you. I'll go Mayor Kelly and then Charlene.
I'll let Charlene go just in case she wants to piggyback on what Sean said.
Okay, sure. Charlene?
And Mayor Crane. So at the end of the day, the town council of Black Diamond has not seen a bylaw been presented in a draft form, as we are still working out the details. It's my opinion that we should have many of these details worked out prior to presenting it in draft form, prior to, you know, we need to work out the details prior to putting it forward to council. And so that's why council has not seen the bylaw at this time, because the details haven't been worked out yet.
Correct.
Sure. Sounds good. Mayor Kelly.
I was just going to make note of what CAO Brown said in regards to public information. Mayor Crane, sounds like we need to do a little PR action on the old Facebook and those things and just get everyone pumped up for the old compost and recycling. So I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah, I agree. We have just to speak to that, Mayor Kelly, Turner Valley, because we have the blue bins and we're going to be churning to the black, of course, now, so we can align the colors. I'll have to do one sooner rather than later, just so I can get Turner Valley's residents switching the mindset that garbage is in black, recycling is blue. So we're going to put our containers out and get a mental switch happening right away here. So you'll see one from me soon enough. All right, so if I could have Charlene and Mayor Kelly put your hands down, and I'm going to scroll across. We are looking clear as a bell. And with that, I think we're going to be able to put the motion by Councillor Gordon to accept for information at this time to a vote. And I'm going to ask everyone to use your little high five hand that we've been using for indicating. That way I can see them technically. So all in favor of the motion? Little hands up. 6, 7, 8. Everyone just stick them up there. Excellent. Yay. And that is carried. All right. Thank you. You can all put your hands down now. Greatly appreciate it. Paul, we're going to let you go. So thank you for tuning in tonight and giving us presentation, answering our questions. And I must say, it's been a long time coming, but we are looking very forward to having this implemented. So thank you for sitting on our group and working so hard as you do. And we look forward to more information in the coming months.
Thank you very much for having me. And it was a pleasure to be here tonight. Bye now.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Perfect. Councillor Gordon and Rab, unless you want to talk, I'm going to ask you to put your hands down digitally. And that gives me a clear slate. Perfect. All right, guys. Excellent. Well, that was good. All right, moving on. That motion is carried. 6.2 correspondence sent. The 20 letter to continue support as requested ICF extension request. So that one is gone. Do we need to, are we just acknowledging that just at this meeting and accepting for information? I'll take a motion from you, Mayor Kelly, if that's the case.
Yeah, it's all yours. Motion to accept as information, please, and thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Any questions concerning that letter for the ICF extension request? Pretty straightforward, ladies and gentlemen. And seeing none, all in favor of the motion, except for information. Little hands. Stick
I'll give you an eye.
There you go. I'll take anything as long as I can see it all. And that is carried. Thank you very much. You can put your hands.
Mayor Crane, may I suggest a 5-minute recess? That's all, or is that
Yeah.
going further?
Sure. Let's take a 5-minute. We'll take 7 minutes and we'll come back at 7:30. How's that sound? All right, 7:30, guys. Everyone, make sure your cameras are off and your microphones are muted, please.
I'm going to leave my microphone on so it's interesting.
Bodily sounds and all.
Yeah, okay, Mayor Kelly, that's just really weird.
Just kidding.
You always gotta have.
You might want to mute because I can't stop the recording.
That's why I said it, Lisa.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. 7:31, but I know everyone's kind of taking their time on breaks. Who doesn't, right? I had to go and get myself a little Pepsi, you know. It's all part of the quick break. All right, Councillor Dixon. Let me see here. 7:32. I want to make sure everyone is back. And I think we
Thanks
are
for the break, Mayor Crane. Appreciate that.
good. Yeah, you betcha. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's call her back to order here at 7:32. All right. And 6.2 was the letter. We adopted that. We are now on to 7.1 under new business. And we have the JFAC RFD for electronic or in-person meetings. Excellent. Let's get back in person. There, done, right? Be done with it. Who would like to speak to this to start? Sean or Charlene? I'll take either one of you. I've got to fire up my other computer to get it up. So you guys can lead it off if you like. Sean?
Well, thanks, Mary Crane. I'd actually have Lisa weigh in on this if she'd like, because she handles the tech support for our meetings. So that
Excellent.
might be an appropriate spot.
All right, Lisa and Verna, you guys can tag team this as you see fit. Lisa, we'll lead off with you if you'd like.
Just give me a second to get my video on, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, there you go. Thank you.
There we go. And I'm in my penthouse corner suite, as you can see.
Oh, nice.
Verna and I discussed this. If we go back to in-person meetings, it's going to create some issues regarding recording the meetings. Currently we don't have the updated technology to make it work. I've been in discussions with our IT groups, both iCompass and our Bulletproof, and it's going to cost a lot of money. So I know the Flair and Derek, if we meet there, we have the space for both councils and members of the public. However, the internet connection will not support the technology to record or live stream. Our council chambers is probably not quite big enough to house both councils and members of the public, but we do have the live stream capabilities. I'm not sure about Black Diamond's council chambers. I know that on that end, and either Verna or Charlene can probably speak to this. I know they're also checking with their IT people to see what they can do for live streams. So in a nutshell, if you want members of the public to be able to watch via live stream or online, this is your best venue. I understand your feelings of wanting all to be together. I would too if I were in your shoes, but it's your decision. Right now, we don't have the technology to live stream in a big facility.
Okay. Just before I go to Mr. Dixon and Chad, the library, was that one investigated?
Yes, I've had several conversations with the library, Jan, the manager there. The venue is a good size, but again, we don't have the capacity to live stream. Our live stream is set up in our council chambers. And right now our technology, it doesn't talk to one another. We've got 5 different systems and 3 of them are outdated. So invite the public. If you want to see it, you have to attend, or we can continue in this manner and we can live stream it and they can watch it anytime they like.
Okay. All right, I'm going to go to Councillor Van Hook first and then to Councillor Dixon. Chad, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mayor Crane. Yeah, I'd like to speak to this as well. I mean, I think right now, especially with what's happening, merging the 2 towns together and all of our work that's going to be coming up forward, I think it's really crucial to have the members of the public the accessibility these types of meetings, to be able to kind of record, see what everybody's saying, kind of go back for reference and stuff like that. Sometimes live meetings are kind of hard, especially for people at the times we do them, to get off work and to meet them at an appropriate time. So I think for what we've got coming forward, as much as it's nice to see everybody and to hang out in a nice big room and spitball ideas off each other, because that can be really a great thing sometimes, it's just crucial for the public to have these types of formats to review and to look back. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Dixon.
Yeah, I actually don't mind this format at all, although I do appreciate, I'd certainly like to get together with everybody at least once in a while. So I would like to propose that we look at potentially a hybrid situation where we do this maybe for 2 meetings, and then we have 1 meeting where we go to the Flare and Derrick and invite the public out, and then back to this for 2 meetings. I mean, if we only miss, 1 every 2 or 3 meetings where we're not able to live stream, maybe that would work. I don't know. It's just a thought, but I'd like to put that out there. So.
Okay, thank you. I know that last night we had our committee of the whole, and it was just so nice to be able to, throw a few laughs. Councillor Rabb had us all giggling there a couple times. The in-person really makes a difference for the connectivity of these groups. Just the interpersonal play is important, I think. But certainly, the transparency and the history needs to be recorded. So I wouldn't be against having groups in meetings either. But I'm going to go to Councillor Deputy Mayor Haldane.
I'm just wondering if we have any statistics on it, how many people are listening to like a regular one when there's just regular business items, I know some, like the previous ones with votes on amalgamation, were more widely attended, but for just regular ones talking about recycle and things, how many people watch?
Lisa, you have an answer?
Thank you, Mayor Crane. I wish I had way better news for you guys. Like I said, it's a big bill. It's a costly bill if we look at improving our technology. And because we're in the middle of an amalgamation, where do we want to spend those dollars? Do we want to hold off? That would be my recommendation. I would love to have the public back and be able to hear you guys have your conversations. That would be great. I understand that. I do like Councillor Dixon's suggestion. That may be a great option. I wish I could say the library would be a good place, but with the 2 councils, it would fit. But it's hardly bigger than our actual council chambers. We got the measurements just to investigate, because I want options for you guys. It's not a whole lot bigger, so you wouldn't be able to accommodate a lot of your members of the public.
Okay, thank you. I've got a follow-up from Deputy Mayor Haldane and then Councillor Rapp.
Yeah, I guess I rambled and she didn't get the question. Lisa didn't hear the question. I was asking statistics on how many people have watched these generally on average per meeting. Like, do we have 1 viewer, 0 viewers, 10 viewers on a normal night?
I apologize through the chair. I meant to answer that as well. I cut myself off too quick. We do watch when we do the live streams, and you can tell how many viewers are on and off. I don't know that we've actually been keeping a lot of those statistics, but I'm certain that we could do that for the future.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. I've got Councillor Rapp and then I have Councillor Van Hook.
Thanks, Chair Crane. All I can say is tonight I've been checking a couple of times. We've only had a max of 20 people here, and tonight, right now we have 18. So when you think about 14 councils plus staff, there's probably nobody in, or very few. So I suspect we have a fairly low number. And you'd think this would be a fairly interesting topic with recycling, but so I'm
You killed yourself, Rapp. You muted yourself before you were done.
sorry. I'd like to say I like Councillor Dixon's suggestion about going every second or third one type of thing. That could work.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I've got in the queue Vanden Hook, Mr. Patience, and then Councillor Bain. So you can put yours down, Rab, and Vanden Hook, you're up.
Thank you very much. Further up with that, Lisa, are we able to track how many people have viewed it afterwards? Well, not just in the live, but after the fact to see who's all tuned in.
Thank you, Councillor Vanderhook. Yeah, we have some of those statistics. We haven't really been recording them or watching them. It varies depending on what's on the agenda. We've had as high as 60 people watching and as low as 2.
Okay, thank you very much. And I don't want to be that guy as well, but I mean, with the price of gas too, I know it's not far, but just gonna throw that in there.
Right on. Okay, we'll go Mr. Patience, then to Councillor Bain.
Thanks, Mayor Crane. Just to maybe further Councillor Dixon's comments about a hybrid, while we were researching options for some of the challenges we were facing in our own chambers with the technology, Ms. LeBlanc had done some research for us as well and had ran into a community just south of us who was actually using a videographer to record their meetings and then posting them online. So it didn't require a streaming technology. It did require the expense of the videographer, however, but it may be an option if you want to look at a hybridized approach.
Okay, something to think about here. Councillor Bain, you're up.
Chad asked part of my question with respect to how many people actually watch these after they've been posted. My feeling, I would prefer to meet in person, but as long as the meeting is available to the public afterwards, then I'm happy. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Gordon.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate the feedback so far. This is directed towards Councillor Holiday and Councillor Vanden Hook. If you go to the Turner Valley website and you click on the video, you'll see it takes us to our YouTube page, and you can see how many sessions have actually been videoed. So we can do our own, or I mean, pardon me, how many have been viewed. So we can do our own research, and it is pretty limited. I'm not going to lie. So I actually want to pick up on what Councillor or CEO Patience said there. I love the idea of meeting in person, setting up a video system to record it and then upload it, and people can watch it at their leisure. Because really, that's what they're going to do. I've had several residents ask me about what time were you guys discussing this. In other words, they want to fast forward through a 2.5-hour meeting, and that happens almost all the time. They'll prefer to watch the recording rather than the live event. And so I think that's something to keep in mind as we discuss this.
That's a good point. People do that, and the Facebook links make people happy too. I've got Mayor Kelly and then Councillor Lalonde.
Thanks, Mayor Crane. I really want to get back to in person, although it's difficult not to consider at the bare minimum a hybrid. I love the videographer idea. I think that's outstanding. I don't even really think you need to hire a person so long as you had an appropriate camera that was just stationed in the room somewhere. I think to speak to some of the people that may still be technologically unavailable, if you will, I think at some point we do need to make a move back to in person. I don't think we're there quite yet, because I think that the fear of COVID is still very much alive, especially in places like the Lodge here in town. But I really love the hybrid. I don't think that there's a one fit solution here, but I think that obviously what we're doing right now is perfect. We're having the conversation. I love the videographer thing. Doesn't have to be live. People like Brent from Western Wheel or Caitlin, think that's all that they really need. Did I freeze?
Yeah.
You did.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. As long as you can still hear me. Yeah. So that's all I'm going to say. I really want to get back to in person, but I also understand all these other things, fuel prices, all this, and this is great. I mean, mind you, I'm in my unfinished basement and it's freezing down here. Yeah, I think that moving ahead, we should start to really explore how we're going to get back to in-person full time. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Councillor Lalonde, then to Councillor Dixon.
Thank you, sir. Just some easily grab quick stats. If you just go to YouTube and Google our JFAC committees, it'll bring them all up, and you can scroll through them, and your viewerships go 1, 29, 16, 14, 1, 65 views going back to last August. We all know what that was. And then you're 16 and 31 and 12 and 7. Like, it's not groundbreaking. If somebody wants to come to the meeting, they'll come to the meeting. If they don't, they don't. We've been through this before COVID when we had our meetings joint all the time. In Black Diamond Chambers, Flair and Derrick, we put the tables in the round. Sometimes somebody would show up. Most times people didn't. Realistically, I got to be honest with you, the Zoom thing's great for the convenience of it. Like for myself going through what I'm going through, it's great. But I think we should be putting emphasis on getting back together, and you can accomplish so much more face to face. I got to be honest with you. This sucks doing this. It works, but look to where we were 2 years ago. This didn't exist. Nobody even cared. We just got together, hammered out what needed to get done, and we got it done. And that's where I think we should be returning to. Thank you.
Nice. Well said. Councillor Dixon and Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, if I may, I'm just going to go ahead and put out a motion then that we go into a hybrid situation of, 2 online meetings and then a third meeting being an in-person meeting with inviting the public, if I can do that. So my motion would be that the JFAC committee moves forward with, 2 online meetings, and then every third meeting is an online meeting at, the Flair and Derrick, and we invite the public. So that's my motion.
Okay, well, we can definitely start there. I think the venue, if you could leave the venue open versus locking it in, because then we can alternate either Black Diamond Chambers, Turner Valley Chambers, Library, or Flair and Derrick, whatever's available for the date. So if you could just take the friendly amendment of removing that location.
Sure, so friendly amendment.
Determined.
Yes.
And I think that's a great start. I think there's definitely something there. So I'm going to go to Heather before we go any further, and then we'll go back and have some more debate. So Councillor Thompson, the floor is yours.
I'm kind of with Daryl. I'd like to see us going back to meetings all together. I also don't mind for a little while until we actually do move completely through this, that we could continue with these meetings, but I'd sure like to see them come to an end sooner than later and we get together.
I guess we know where you're voting then, don't we?
Yeah, so I would agree with Councillor Dixon's motion, except for I would like to see it end at some point where we're just all together. And somehow I would also like to see that they do get video recorded. They don't need to be live streamed, but I'd like to see them video recorded and uploaded to the YouTube channels.
Yes, and I think that's probably what Sean is going to say when I go to him. So that's probably a friendly amendment that you should ask Councillor Dixon as well to have the recording included.
I'll redo my motion when I get a chance, once the debate's done.
So we're going to go Sean, then we've got Gordon, then Waring, then Mayor Kelly. Okay, so CAO Patience.
Thanks, Mayor Crane. I just wanted to interject one additional thought, and I know we've done it. I just don't know how it was done, but we do need to consider Councillor Dunning as well, and his being away most of the time and being able to accommodate his attendance at these meetings as well. I know we did it during our orientation session at the Flair and Derrick. I'm just not sure how it was done. I believe that was arranged through our strategic planning consultant. So it's something we'll have to look into and do need to accommodate Mr. Dunning.
Yes, we always have to have a Zoom option. I think Zoom is here to stay no matter what happens. There's always going to be a Zoom option in these meetings. So I'm going to go Gordon, Waring, Mayor Kelly, and Lisa will have comment on that when it comes around to her. So go ahead, Gordon.
Yeah, it's a good debate. And since we have a motion on the table, I want to speak to the motion. I actually oppose the motion of a hybrid. We only meet monthly. And so if we go 2 online and then one in person, we're into June. And I don't see the value of that. I believe we go cold turkey and we join together as soon as possible. Look at April as being an in-person, have the video set up and upload it later. That's where I stand.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Waring.
Thank you, Jonathan, for saying exactly what I was going to say, as usual. I want in-person meetings, and I think if you can't organise a camera that can record a meeting by the next meeting, there's something wrong with our organisations.
Mayor Kelly.
Yeah, I find I find it difficult because we only meet once a month. That's Jonathan said it perfectly as well. I'm not even gonna waste any time. I think that when we're talking about hybrid, I think it's important that we consider potential counselors like Andrew Dunning or anybody, Verna, Lisa, any of our CAOs, anything like that, if they're unable to attend in person, that we have that option available. However, that's only specific to our councils and our administration. And I think that's the focus here, is that we need to focus on each other. The information will be relayed to the public, videographer, recording, whatever it is. I'm with those guys as well. Well said, Jonathan, and thank you for bringing that up.
Okay, so the Band-Aid solution I'm hearing. Veronica, you haven't weighed in. I'm going to go to Lisa and let you think about it, and then I'm going to come to you. Lisa, go ahead.
Just to clarify, when we did our council orientation, yeah, I did set that up for everybody so that he could attend. He could probably tell you that he couldn't always see us, and I know the connection was quite sketchy. He kept fading in and out on us and vice versa, but I'm sure that there is something that we can work out for this. And you know, it may boil down to some costs that we have to absorb in order to accommodate this.
All right, thank you. Councillor Kleiber.
Well, as you can see, I'm all comfy on my couch, but I really prefer to watch something a little racier than a JFAC meeting. Yeah, I saw you wearing. So I'm fine meeting in person. I'm fine continuing with Zoom. I really don't have a preference one way or another. You guys sort it out. I do like the camera idea. So yeah, I've got nothing really great to add.
Okay, excellent. Waring.
My only comment is if we're going to spend some money, it's never wasted. You've got the equipment going forward in the future. It's not like at the end of the year, there's not going to be any council meetings anymore. There's always going to be people who are traveling. I mean, I remember the good old days of Mayor Kelly's, the other Mayor Kelly's council. If you couldn't be at the meeting, you didn't go to the meeting. You know, that was it, tough titty. So yeah, bite the bullet and let's get on with it.
There you go. Councillor Kleiber.
I did think of something. I was at that all-day leadership caucus virtually today, and the province has absolutely no plans, as far as they could tell me, to remove virtual participation for councillors. So I'm just putting that out there. Zoom is always going to be around, at least for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I'm just going to do a quick in-house before I go back to Dixon for the changing of the motion. Holiday, Band-Aid or no Band-Aid?
I would like to be in person, have it recorded and posted after, and an option for people that can't make it to join in.
Okay,
That's where I'm at.
Rab, Band-Aid off?
Yeah,
You muted yourself again.
yeah, I'm having trouble unmuting here. I said I'd support Councillor Dixon, but after listening to Councillor Gordon, I don't know, Curtis. I think that, I mean, I personally would like in person if we can do that. I mean, the hybrid is better than nothing, but the in person is still the best. So I guess that's where I'm leaning.
Councillor Bain, I saw you head nodding to Mayor Kelly and Waring and Jonathan. Let's get your way in and then we'll go to Daryl.
Yeah, I think I said it earlier that I prefer in person, and I would vote to make it in person as long as it is recorded and uploaded. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Kelly, I'll go to Lalonde first and then I'll come back to you, but I'm pretty sure Lalonde made it clear you're 100%.
That's correct, Mr. Crane, 100%.
Okay, Vandenhoek?
Sorry, are you sorry, distracted by a child. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, just whether you'd be good to go for in person again.
I mean, I do prefer the Zooms, to be honest with you. I will probably, not to say I'll probably be late to most of the meetings just from our work schedule, but it is going to go how it's going to go. So,
yeah, well, we'll have accommodations for that as well. So,
okay,
that's good. Okay, and Mayor Kelly, you can close this off. And then
Yeah,
we'll go back.
Thanks, Mayor Crane. Again, I think the major distinction here is what we're trying to achieve is that we want to get information to the public so that the recording is important. It's imperative in this sense. Meeting in person is also really important to our group. So, though, you know, they can be two different things. We're not looking to get back into person so that we can open the doors to the public per se, because like we've heard from multiple people, those meetings were not very well attended and YouTube is not very well attended, but we are still doing our due diligence by meeting in person, recording it, and then making it available to the public. I think that that's a distinction that we just need to be clear about right here is we're not going back in person so that we can be available to the public. We will still be available to the public with the recording. So you know where I stand there.
Yep, makes sense. So, Councillor Dixon, if you can just withdraw your motion.
Yeah,
and
I'm
make
going
a
to,
nice new motion.
I am going to withdraw my first motion and I'm going to put forward a new motion. My new motion is going to be that the JFAC moves to a semi-hybrid format as follows. The next meeting would be online. The following two meetings would be in either town. First one being in Turner Valley and the second one being in Black Diamond. And that we would review this again at that third meeting and decide at that point whether we continue with online meetings or not. And that those meetings that are in person would be recorded and be offered online for viewing of the public.
I think you meant it the other way, that we go back to in-person meetings.
Right. Sorry, is that what I said?
Yeah, you went that the next one's online. So
right. No, sorry. The next one would whether we review after the third one whether we remain as in person or otherwise.
Yeah. So all we need is just to move back into in-person meetings. And then if anything develops down the road, we can address it after that. To keep it nice and clean, it's just we're going to move back into in-person meetings with the recordings as an option. Well, not as an option. Zoom as an option, but recordings are to be done as we do right now. So if you just make it nice and clean, just say move back to in-person with the Zoom option and recorded meetings.
So the motion will be to move back to in-person meetings after the next meeting. At that time, following the next meeting, we'll move into in-person meetings and with being recorded for the public.
Perfect. I think Lisa's got it. Councillor Heather Thompson, and then Councillor Rabb.
This would be a question to administration. I don't know that we can do the switching of locations if we want to get something set up so that it's recorded meetings. So we're gonna have to pick a location and stick with it.
That's why I suggested the next one be virtual so that we can get all of these ducks in a row. And then from
Yeah,
there.
but what I'm saying is the back and forth between Turner Valley and Black Diamond, I'm not sure that that would work. I would put that question to administration.
Okay, excellent. We'll go to Verna because I saw her hand go up when Councillor Dixon was talking. So Verna.
Sorry, I was just looking for a bit of clarity on that motion, but also I didn't get a chance to answer the question earlier. Black Diamond, we do not have video. We do have audio in the form of a webcam. That's all that we use in our room, and so I'm not sure how successful that would be with a large group of people in this room. We could certainly try it, and we would have audio, but I don't know if it would be worth the recording. So that is something to consider.
Okay.
But I would like a little bit of clarity, please, on Councillor Dixon's motion. You were intending the April meeting to remain online and then go in person in May?
That's correct. Just to
Okay.
give administration and everybody a chance to get everything in order.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll stick with that. Councillor Rabb.
Yeah, I was looking for some clarity, but I just got a little bit. I was hoping the next meeting would be in person. Councillor Dixon also mentioned the next meeting would be in Turner Valley. I think it's Black Diamond's turn. But when we listen to Councillor Thompson, perhaps if it's okay with Black Diamond, we could have all of the meetings at the Flair and Derrick, because that's an adequate place, lots of room, and then you just set up the facility, set up the cameras in the same place. At least you know that. But that's Black Diamond's call. But I think at the end of the day, next time is Black Diamond's turn, as far as I know. That's the first thing. And second thing, I think we should go in person next time and get the show on the road.
Okay, thank you. I've got Councillor Gordon, then Councillor Lalonde.
Yeah, I'm going to echo Councillor Rob right there. I think we just go in person the next meeting. We've got a month to set it up, and admin can figure out what works best where. So I have to agree with Gary, Councillor Rob on that one. Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you. Councillor Lalonde. Gary, you can put your hand down for me, please. And Lisa, I see you. I'm coming to you. Don't worry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I really couldn't care where we meet, short of at the Ball Diamond. The issue is that we do meet. That's the focus that we should be looking at. I don't care if it's in Black Diamond, Turner Valley, Flair and Derrick, the Park and Ride. It doesn't matter. Let's get together. We can pound these situations out a lot faster, a lot more efficiently, face to face. Let's just do it. Please and thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lalonde. Mrs. Brown. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry, I didn't really have anything further to say. I guess we'll see what we can do.
Okay, excellent. Gary, your hand is still up. Supposed to be or not supposed to be? Gary is frozen. All right. Mrs. Verna Staples, could you read your motion back for everyone?
I can do that. So moved by Councillor Dixon that the Joint Friendship Agreement Committee meeting in April remains electronic and then moves to in-person meetings in May that will be recorded and posted online.
Okay, excellent. Is that going to work for you, Councillor Dixon?
Yeah, if you just add one little piece, the locations to be determined.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, sorry to interrupt, but I've noticed Councillor Lalonde has his hand up.
Yes, he does. Excellent. Councillor Lalonde, go ahead. And then I see Deputy Mayor Holiday.
Thank you very much. Just another thing to consider when we're looking at where we're getting together. We don't have to stand 12 miles apart anymore either. If we're comfortable getting together, we don't have to have a room big enough or a microphone or a camera that's got to pick up 2 square acres. We can be a lot more shoulder to shoulder the way we used to be, with the tables together where we can talk without yelling at people. So something to consider when we're looking at recording. We don't need to pick up the outfield. It can be nice and tight and clean. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you. Councillor Deputy Mayor Holiday, you're last.
Yeah, I'm not happy meeting online next meeting. I want it to start immediately. And like Daryl just said, we can get cozy in our chambers. We're already set up with the video. I'd be happy, but maybe, but Curtis, I know wants his, so we can do a vote on an amendment. So I would put a secondary motion to return immediately for the next meeting, and then we can vote yea or nay on that.
Okay. So that's the amendment. All right, so we're going to vote on the amendment first, unless Curtis, you want to amend it to a start immediately. So remove April as the online and go to in-person in April and forward.
I'm just going to leave it as it is, just to give everybody a chance to vote accordingly, I think. So.
Okay, excellent. All right, so we're going to vote on the amendment, which is Deputy Mayor amendment is to move to in-person starting in April. That would be added if it passes. Any comments on that before I call the question on that? Okay, then we're going to vote on the amendment. Daryl?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was a little confused. Did Councillor Dixon accept the amendment, or is he staying true to his motion? And it's one.
Staying true to his motion. So we're going to go to Deputy Mayor Holiday's amendment to move to the April in-person.
So that'll be a second motion should Councillor Dixon's not pass. This is where I'm confused, because is Councillor Dixon accepting the friendly amendment?
He is not.
Can I help?
So the original motion then is still reading that April will be virtual.
Yes, Heather is going to give us some clarity.
So what's happening is the main motion is on the table, and Councillor Holiday has put an amending motion on the table. So what we would do is vote on the amending motion, and then we would go back to the main. If it's voted favorably, we would go back to the main motion as amended and vote on that again. If it's not favorable, if it's defeated, the secondary motion, then we would go back to the main motion and vote on it as it is.
Exactly. Thank you. Okay, so I think that was very clear. So we're going to vote on the amendment, which is to start immediately in person in April.
I'm not sure Daryl understands. He has a confused look on his face, if I can interrupt.
I appreciate that, Councillor Gordon. My issue with this is Curtis Dixon has a motion on the floor existing.
Exactly.
And now he has a request of a friendly amendment.
Correct.
Okay, you're saying correct, but Heather and Cindy are both saying no. So I think
so let me explain it again.
This is where the confusion's coming in. I don't think I'm alone in this.
So let me explain it again.
Yeah, it's
okay. One
he
person.
Didn't want, Councillor Dixon did not want a friendly amendment, so Councillor Holiday put forward an amending motion. So that's where the confusion is happening. Friendly amendments can get confusing because there can be like 15 or 16 of them put forward. So this way it keeps it clean. Councillor Dixon wishes to stick with his original main motion. Councillor Holiday, after listening to everybody, has put forward an amending motion. So what we do is vote on the amending motion, and then we move to the main motion. And if the amending motion is voted upon favorably, then we go back to the first motion, which is the main motion, and we would vote on it as amended.
Yeah, I can hear someone laughing. That's okay. Keep going, because it seems like we're skipping over steps here. Because we're
No.
voting on a second motion to fix the first motion before we vote on the first motion.
We're following the proper procedure of amending a motion. So I'll let Cindy have a chance. Go ahead, Cindy.
Yeah, we do this all the time in our council. It's quite easy because we don't want to vote against yay or nay against his just because we don't like one little part of it. But Curtis doesn't want to change it, so I'm forcing him to change it if people vote in favor of my motion. It then forces him to change his motion for the earlier strategy. So we have to vote on me changing it. An unfriendly change.
That's right. Okay, and we'll go to Mayor Kelly.
It's Robert's Rules of Order.
As much as I trust Verna's hands down now. I was just gonna let Verna speak to it or Lisa because they're legislative services and they know exactly what's going on here. Not that nobody else does, but I would just, if she's still willing to, I would just let her say, "Yep, that's the way we're doing it. Let's go for it," just so that we're all clear here.
Sure, Verna, you want to try and have a go at it? Heather explained it fairly well.
Heather actually did explain it very well. It is a confusing thing if you've never seen it, and I haven't seen this in our chambers ever. So our council is not familiar with this process if they haven't seen it externally. So Councillor Holiday actually explained it really well. So you're kind of bouncing back and forth a little bit here. So Councillor Dixon's motion will remain on the table, but you're just going to shove it over for a minute and deal with Councillor Holiday's amendment. And then once that's dealt with, so if this group, if 80% of you agree that you like Councillor Holiday's motion, then it amends Councillor Dixon's. And then now we go back and deal with his as amended.
Thanks, Verna.
It just makes for slight changes. It's done a lot in larger parts of government, but like Cindy said, we do it all the time because Waring likes to argue with Jonathan and Jonathan likes to argue with Gary, so we do this for fun.
Will it help you if I very quickly put both up on the screen and then you can watch it happen? Is that better?
You know what? That's a great idea.
Okay, give me a quick second to type this up.
Okay, I would like to say this is, in 5 years, the first ever. So that's the whole clear as mud situation. I appreciate Councillor Thompson, Cindy, Councillor Holiday, and Verna. Thank you for making it as clear as mud, not as dirty as it was before. I can kind of see through it. John, I can't quite read what that says. Jonathan, can you read that out? I couldn't read it, but I want to thank everybody for being patient with me because I didn't understand this.
It's funny because we saw this happen at the Red Deer AUMA a couple of times where they tried a friendly amendment and the person with the original motion did not accept the friendly amendment, and the person wanting the amendment pushed it forward. So that's what we're doing. So what I wrote here is Cindy's motion, if carried, amends Curtis's motion. End of story. And then because if we carry Cindy's motion, it amends Curtis's according to the rules of order, which then we would decide, do we take the amendment or the amended motion as Cindy presented it? It then really becomes an amended motion for us to determine.
Okay, thank you very much for the information, Jonathan. Appreciate it.
Does it work for you? It's a confusing item. I mean, I remember at the AMA, I was like, so.
That's where I am now. So again, guys, thank you for your patience. I don't want to dwell on it anymore. I think I got this. And when the motion comes up from Verna, we'll read it. And thank you very, very much.
There you go. I've got Mayor Kelly and Councillor Kloiber.
It ultimately saves us from having to put another motion on the table. That's the bingo here. Is like, so if we voted Curtis's down, then we'd have to put a new motion on the table for the friendly amendment. So we're kind of just saving ourselves a step.
And like to say that sometimes amendments can be 10 and 12 deep on large items. So yeah, so here you go. So Verna, would you like to just read it and walk it through so that you know, this is recorded, so anyone who ever watches this can see exactly how this unfolds.
I can do that. So the amending motion requested is that the committee agree that Joint Friendship Agreement Committee meetings return to in-person meetings in April at locations to be determined that will be recorded and posted online.
Perfect. All right. So if this passes, it then gets inserted into Councillor Dixon's main motion, which would remove the electronic, essentially. So the motion that we're voting on right now is Deputy Mayor Holliday's amending motion. Okay, and I have Veronica's hand, and Lisa, I still have yours. So I'm going to go Veronica first.
I was just gonna say, and the timing's off, this is almost as good as the shows I choose to watch.
Nice. Councillor Rab, I see your hand. I really should go to Lisa, though. I don't know if she wants to talk or if the square is on. Lisa, do you want to talk?
No, I lowered my hand, Mayor Crane. Thank you.
Oh, good. Okay. Councillor Rab.
Sorry, I didn't unmute here. I'm sorry, my computer died, so I missed all the, I didn't know how we got here, but anyway, I think I understand now that we're here. Like Councillor Lalonde, I have a little trouble following, but this is an unfriendly amendment, and as Councillor Lalonde said, they never did it. I don't think we've ever done it in our chambers either, but it has been done at AUMA or whatever it's called, so Alberta municipalities. But in any event, I'm good. Let it rip. Yep. I was just raising my hand, so going to vote in favor.
Okay, good. Because now I'm going to ask everyone to use their little icons. Curtis, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that I, as entertaining as this has been, I'm not trying to make this more difficult. I'm actually trying to make it easier. So, but as said earlier, I'm leaving my motion in place so that if in case Councillor Holliday's motion is defeated, then my motion will still stand.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, it's good. Okay, excellent. And with that, all in favor of the amending motion, hands high, hit your little high five hands. 5, 7. I see 7. You got to use those little icons. 8. I see John is 9. I think we are carried. Indeed, we are. Yes. We are carried. Okay. Right. We had those opposed. Okay, so hands down. I want to see those opposed first. I think I had Chad and Daryl and Curtis. Okay, let me just check my 3.
I think 11 still hits the 80% on the, yeah.
It does. I just had to flip my computer over because I have the little cheat sheet on the back. So it carries. So the amending motion carries out of 11 out of 14 or 10 out of 13, whatever we're at. So we're good. And that's it.
No, now we have to vote on the amended motion.
Which is the motion we see in front of us again. Because it's word for word now, essentially. Verna, I'm going to go to you again now. Is any wording going to change in here?
Actually, no, it is not. Yeah, I actually replaced the motion. I probably should have amended it differently.
I was going to say, doesn't my original motion just stand as amended?
Yeah, which, if we're looking
You're
at
correct.
words to in person in April at locations to be determined, recorded and posted online. Okay, so now we're going to vote on this amended motion, which essentially reads the same, but it should be under Councillor Dixon's name. Is that correct, Verna?
Yes,
right?
I probably should have worded Councillor Holliday's just a little bit differently. but that's okay. We can re-vote on the same motion.
Yeah, so it'll just say Councillor Dixon's motion as amended. Councillor Deputy Mayor Holiday, while we're waiting.
Yeah, I did just want to give an example. The last time I remember we did this in our council meeting, it was we were, willing to do a community support grant for $500 to an organization. And then somebody decided they didn't like that amount. They only wanted to do $250. So really the Second Amendment should just be what you're changing. It said, a motion to adjust the amount to $250 and not, you don't have to reword the entire motion. And the reason you do these is because technically if we had voted on Councillor Dixon's and then it failed, then that was discussion over. And you don't, in councils, we're not supposed to re-vote on items multiple times. That's why you have to fix it and use these amending motions, because you don't want to kill debate completely. Like if it's a bylaw and it's first reading and you're unhappy with one little thing, you don't want to kill the whole bylaw by turning it down. You want to amend it and use these amending motions that way to change the little specific items like dates and amounts. But yeah, that's just one that came to mind is it was about a golf course, something that we were funding, and we changed from 500 to 250. That was the last time I remember using it.
Yeah, that's a great example, actually. So thank you. All right. So there we have it now. Councillor Dixon's motion as amended, that the committee agree that JFAC meetings return to in-person meetings in April at locations to be determined. They'll be recorded and posted online. All in favor? Raise your hand, hit your icons for raising your hands. Think like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, all opposed?
Mine was a yes, just so you know, Barry, because my hand was not going up.
I saw you like this. And it'll be the same, I'm assuming, here. Jonathan Gordon, are you voting against or are you frozen? Thank you. And Heather, you're down as well. You already voted. And Brendan, you already voted. So I'm just looking for Chad, Daryl, and Curtis. And Daryl, are you voting against?
No, sir, I voted in favor. I hope you counted that way.
I will now. Yep. Okay. So we have 2 against, and that's fine. That's carried. Thank you. All right, guys. Perfect. Motion is carried.
Thanks for that, everybody.
All right.
Thanks for entertaining me.
That was a nice learning experience, and it's always fun to kind of re-gauge that brain on amending motions, because it isn't used often, but when it is, it can sure throw a wrench into things if you're not prepared for it. So that's good. Excellent. All right. I believe we're down to our last one here. 7.2, first election, the excerpt from report on negotiations and request to discuss by Mayor Kelly. We saw your email to Verna there. So I'm going to give you the floor so you can ask the questions for clarity the way that you want, and then we'll go from there. So the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Crane. Okay. Thanks, everybody. I know that we're kind of getting into the later hours here. I didn't really anticipate that first presentation being as long, but it was great nonetheless. So I'm just gonna, I just want to I want to have a discussion. I just want to see where everyone sits on the election in the fall. After doing some research, after the last vote to accept the application or move the application back to the minister as he requested we do, I don't think any of us could have assumed how long COVID was going on for or what types of impacts that would have on us. And through my research, I came across the Local Authorities Election Act. And in that, it comes to first elections when new municipalities are formed. This is on page 13 of the Local Authorities Election Act. And when a new municipality is formed, it states in that act that you have the election after the incorporation. And I just wanted to bring it up to see how people feel. I know we've yet to receive an answer from the minister, assuming that amalgamation goes through as presumably it should. I would kind of like to be thinking a little bit forward. My conversations with Jeff that I had prior to our vote in amalgamation, he alluded to the election date as curious. And I thought that we don't need to pick a date. That's not what I'm asking us to do. All I'm asking is that we consider that we stay together until after incorporation and we leave the date selection up to the minister. And I just wanted to open that up to everybody. I've talked briefly to most of my council about this. I think that there is still a ton of work to do. I think that everybody can agree on that. Having not received any information from the minister, assuming the incorporation date is January 1st of 2023, I think it is in all of our best interests that we remain on board through the incorporation date and allow the minister to pick what date is appropriate after that. 90 to 120 days post incorporation is generally the window in which the minister will pick. So presumably April, potentially May, he would give us, time for potentially a spring election. In saying that, I do know that some council has asked that we remain on for the whole duration of our 4 years. I agree with that as well, but I did want to just open the floor, talk about it, get ahead of it, so that instead of the minister coming down in 2 to 3 to 4 months and saying, hey, we're still going ahead with incorporation on the 1st. However, let's change the date. Why don't we send a letter and say, hey, we're prepared to still go ahead with the proposed date, but could you give us an option for either a spring election, or could you consider allowing us to go either full term or giving us the possibility to go a year or two longer, so that we can help direct administrations on both sides of the river. And I'll just leave it at that, because I think I'll just be talking in circles. So that is just a proposal. So I'll pass it back to Mayor Crane. I'm not chairing this one, so I'll let Mayor Crane take it from here. But I just wanted to have that conversation.
Okay, thank you very much. I actually see Councillor Gordon in the little window right here on the bottom. So Councillor Gordon, go ahead.
Yeah, if I may, I've got the Local Authorities Election Act open in front of me, and I read that after I saw your email on the agenda. What article in the Local Election Authority Act speaks to a first election after incorporation? I can't seem to find that. Because what I read is Section 8, Article 1, in a newly formed local jurisdiction, nominations and the first election, if an election is required, shall be held on the dates fixed by the relevant minister. And that's basically what has been done in the report, is we've submitted with a suggested date because that was required regarding the amalgamation report according to the MGA. We had to a suggested date, but it's still up to the minister to determine when he will set that date. So if I could have clarity as to which section of the Local Elections Authorities Act speaks to after the date of incorporation, I can't find that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Kelly, your hand go up there.
So I'm just reading it over again, Councillor Gordon. So if I mixed my words in terms like I may have to recant in terms of how I suggested the selected date. What I'm using this section is, if you feel like the date that you selected during the application process is still a good date, that's fine with me. I don't think it's a good date because I don't think we have enough time to get ahead. What I was using this, because we're a newly formed municipality, as much as it's up to the minister's listening to the advice that we give to him based on where we stand as two municipalities. So using this information or this First Elections Act just gives myself a little bit of ammunition, if you will, to have this conversation. So if I spoke at a turn in terms of selecting a date after incorporation, I'll recant that. However, we are a newly formed municipality, so as much as it is up to the minister, if we can help steer the incorporate or help steer the election, I would prefer to be ahead of that versus allowing him to make the date selection and us not be ready for that. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I can see where you're going with your thought process in terms of the timing. Well, actually, I've got Lisa and Verna put up their hands, and I've got Heather. So Lisa was first, then Verna, then Heather. I think they might have something to add on the legal document that you're talking about.
Thanks, Mayor Crane and Mayor Kelly. Looking at the LAEA, there are several things you have to take into consideration. Section 6, I think, is where this all started, because a relevant minister gives directions governing your first election for a newly formed corporation. Section 8 also applies to that. And if you look in the MGA, effective the change of status under section 97.2, each councillor of the old municipality continues as a councillor of the new municipality until a successor is sworn into office, which means you can host your election in November and you can swear in your council anytime after the election. So you can put your effective date for January 1, you could put it before Christmas, whatever you choose. Heather can probably give you a better idea on why that November date was chosen, though.
Okay, we're going to go Verna, and then we'll go Heather.
So I wasn't present for those subcommittee meetings, but I did have conversations with Linda after for some clarification going forward. And so in the report, the committee chose two options. One was a first choice, one was a second choice. The first choice was the Q4 pinpointing November 28th date. And so all of these sections, with the exception of the portions of the, actually no, the first election still applies. Councillor Gordon is correct, it is section 8 sub 1. But so the MGA section, sorry, I'm trying to read and talk at the same time, and clearly that doesn't work. So the reasoning for that was put in the report was to cut your council down. But there's a couple of different things to think about with that. And one is that it kind of changes the focus of councils. So your new council is not sworn in until the first day after your incorporation date. So if you have your election in November, and an incorporation date is given to us as of January 1st, that new council has to wait in the wings, just like on a normal election day. You have to wait until you've taken your oath of office to become officially a council person and take on duties. It happens the same way in this case, but there's going to be a month or so in the middle there. And the minister's order will probably give some clear direction as to timeframes, because the size of the council will have to be determined. This is where the interim council comes in. If you have the election after incorporation, there will be an interim council appointed. It might be all 14 of you. It might be something different. And so, but one thing I would kind of ask is that there's a lot of work to happen here between now and incorporation date, and hosting an election post amalgamation takes that kind of off the plate, because don't forget, right after that we have to dive into orientation and everything. Regardless if all 14 of you or any of you 14 are returning as newly elected people, we still have to do another orientation. So all of those things that happen in any election will have to happen in this one as well. So that's something else that could be considered as well. So I do have some details here from Linda that were a little bit more specific about having the election early, and just because after that subcommittee meeting, I was a little confused by some of this, but the order is normally issued in accordance with section 8.1, and they generally put that 90 to 120 days in there. That's part of the ministerial thing. It's not actually written anywhere. It's just kind of normal process. Did that help?
Help me.
Yep, excellent. Okay, thank you, Vernon. Heather, and then Councillor Warings. Heather, Councillor Thompson, sorry.
I think, actually, Verna, thank you very much. You explained it very well. That was my understanding as well. I'm glad that you brought some clarity by talking to Linda. So that's pretty much all I have to say is that, and knowing that the ordering council might change from an election pre-amalgamation to an amalgamation post. And so we just have to kind of wait, which is hard.
Thank you, Councillor Waring.
Yeah, I was on the procedures subcommittee along with Ruth, Daryl, Jackie, Lana and Barry. And we were the people that made the recommendations to JFAC regarding the date of the election. Firstly, you have to remember that the date of the incorporation was recommended by administration and by the finance committee, because it's like the end of the year to do the financials for the two towns. So the incorporation date was set first as the 1st of January 2023. Then we initially were going to pick a date in October for the election for the new council, on the principle of we always have elections in October. When we recommended that to JFAC and the discussions that followed at JFAC, it was felt that this was not a good idea. We should leave it till as long as possible to the end of the year. And then we got into the discussion about the Christmas period, and that's where 28th of December was finally agreed on by JFAC and voted on at the meeting of the 23rd of June. The thing about the, what are you calling it, the extension date, Linda pointed out to us that no matter what we put into our request, we will have to do what the minister says. He directs us when we have the election, when we incorporate, if there's going to be an interim council, if there isn't. It's not our decision, it's the minister's. So we actually put in that we were prepared to go for the 60, 120 day, whatever it was, option, if that felt better by this for the minister to recommend that. So my personal feeling on this is we should wait till the minister comes back with his findings. And then if there's problems with the minister's findings, then by all means discuss it and see if there's any action we want to take. But for now, writing a letter to the minister following up on saying that we agree with what we submitted to him, it doesn't make any sense. Sorry.
Okay, all right, thank you, Councillor Waring. Councillor Lauzon, I saw your clicker go on and then off.
Yeah, I was going to muddy the waters, but I think I muddied myself on it because the talk of interim council with an election really raises questions that haven't been talked about. If people sitting around this room tonight run, well, you got to give up your chair in this council to sit on the new council, which means if there's an interim council, there could be people missing if we got to do 2 or 3 months. And we're going right back to where we were a half an hour ago with the whole muddy water and everything. So I'm just going to be quiet. Thank you, Mayor Crane. Let's just keep moving.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor Haldane. You just fixing your ear?
Yeah. No, I think John's right. The minister is he wants us to succeed. Absolutely everybody at Municipal Affairs wants to see this. There's little towns, municipalities struggling all over the place, trying to amalgamate with each other, and they're going to be watching us. I talked to a number of people at AUMA that are watching us. And he knows the rules. His people know the rules better than any of us. And I really trust in whatever comes back that it's going to be well thought out. So I'm happy to just wait and see what that is, because they know this. They could do this in their sleep. They know it way better than we do.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yeah, I'll just throw in a little weight, and I think in line with Cindy, it's kind of right. Like they're not going to rush us, and they could easily, if you look at the histories, they've done interim councils on almost every occasion. So I don't think that's out of the ballpark. So I think, they want us to succeed. They're going to set a timeline up. They're going to ask their ministers and their deputy ministers, are these realistic timelines? They'll make those recommendations and come back and say, okay, here you go. And then like Rab said, or John said, I don't know who, or maybe it was Heather. If there's something then that we see that we don't really like, that would be the time to then address it. But sending in anything early to change what we've already got in for them to work on, no, I wouldn't be into that yet. I'd sooner wait and see what they say. I don't think they're too far off. Right now, they're meeting all the timelines that we set out originally. So that means we should hear from them before June. So that could be good. Other than that, yeah, no, I don't have anything else to add. I sat on the procedure subcommittee as well, and Waring nailed all the criteria that we talked about. So, Waring, comment?
Yeah, I'd just like to point out that, I mean, we talked this to death on our committee. We looked at all the different possibilities. We looked at the pros and the cons of interim councils, having all 14 people. That we went through the whole thing. We got advice from Linda, which is why we put that second clause in. We realized that there's work to be done, but we also realized that a lot of the work that's got to be done does not have to be done right away. Things like bylaws can continue to be applied to the individual areas the way they are now. That's why we also had a session where we tried to prioritize what needs to be done with bylaws ASAP, things like the library, things like West End. There's certain things that we've got to do. There's certain preparations that can be made. This was all well taken into consideration before it was voted on at JPAC. And I'll just reiterate, as far as I'm concerned, let's wait until the minister gets back to us, see what he says. And then if we have problems, that's the time to address it, not now.
Okay, thank you. You can turn your handy hand off there. All right, scrolling.
My computer's not working very well on that handy thing. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. Sorry, Councillor Gordon, I saw your hand there and I just ignored it. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, just something I think that because we want to work with a united front here. I think we're all in agreement here, correct? When we have communications with municipal affairs or the minister, I think it'd be really wise for us to have the minister or municipal affairs summarize that conversation in an email, or we can share the email reply with all of council. I've done that with the 2 letters I've sent to the minister. I've shared with you his email. This way, we're not working on information we've received and filtering it through. In a court of law, that would be called hearsay, and it makes it very difficult. So if I'm going to call up municipal affairs moving forward and I get information from them regarding this, I think it would be very wise, whether we're speaking with Linda Reynolds or Jeff Nixon or whomever, that we ask them to email us a summary of the conversation we've just had with them so that we can provide firsthand information. And I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes. It's just a matter of being very careful, because Ted can interpret something one way, Daryl might interpret it differently, I may interpret it differently. I mean, that's the nature of it, right? So I think if we can work from that kind of filter, I think it'd be better for us to really have a unified conversation. That's just my opinion.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Gordon. Councillor Lalonde.
Thank you. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I got to be honest with you. When we had our sit-down meeting with Big Rick there, Mr. McIver, he was open to further conversations. He made a very clear comment that this isn't a one and done with him. He's willing to engage with us. So maybe we should have an invite with him or his minister or his municipal affairs people. And like Jonathan says, where are you guys standing now? Are you looking for clarity? Is there anything we can do to help? Blah, 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 blah. Maybe we should throw out an olive branch and see if we can get some correspondence back. Maybe Jonathan's onto something. Maybe we should look into that.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Lalonde. And just scrolling. All right. Okay, any other questions regarding the dates for the first election and interim council? Does that make sense, Mayor Kelly, where we're at? Again, I think it's all about where the minister is going to come from. He could easily say interim council all 14 till April. Like, we don't know. But any questions regarding what you did here from comments?
Nope. Pretty clear. Let's wait.
Okay.
Good to go.
Lalonde?
I guess my question would be based on technicalities, but if we wait, and I'm not looking to say anything, but if we wait and the order of council comes through, if it's an order of council, do we really have the opportunity to change it? Or is it pretty much done? Like, once he puts that through and it goes to cabinet, I'm pretty sure we're not going to get a chance to say, hey, can we change this or this? I could be wrong. To look at administration to confirm that, but I'm pretty sure if we don't do or say anything now and he comes down and goes, here it is, it's done. Like it or leave it, lump it or take it or whatever, it's done. So maybe there should be a little talk on where everybody sees themselves in the next 12 to 24, 36 months. Just a thought.
Okay. Going to Heather, then to Charlene. Councillor Thompson, sorry.
I kind of like Daryl's thinking there too. Can we ask that question of municipal affairs? I mean, if any questions could be asked, maybe that's the one we need to be asking. Once the order comes down, is it done? Or do we have the opportunity to speak to the minister about some of our concerns or whatever?
Okay, yeah.
So I would ask administration to respond to that. Maybe they have spoken to the minister or to the ministry's office regarding that.
Okay, we're gonna go to Charlene. Daryl, you can put down your little handy hand. And CIO Brown, you have the floor.
So from
What are you looking at? My hand is down.
From my, okay, great, Daryl. From my understanding, an order in council is a piece of legislation, and somebody can correct me if I am wrong, but I don't think I am. So an OC is an order of legislation. At that point in time, there is no changes. If there's any request to change, it needs to be done prior to the OC being put forward. And I'm just abbreviating that as far as the OC goes. I had to do that most of today. So any changes that we want to request, we do it before the legislation is passed.
Okay, thank you. Daryl.
Thank you. My hand, I will take it down. There we go. I'd look for a consensus here, but I'd be willing to make a motion here tonight that would go somewhere along the lines of asking or directing administration to contact municipal affairs and ask for an informal roundtable discussion, just to get a feel of where they are, where we are. Do we have gray areas both sides want to trim out, and let's work together on it instead of sitting back and waiting. I'm just wondering if that's something everybody would be interested in, just to get on board. The way we talk about communication, kind of think something we should do. Just a thought, but I'll make that motion if it's going to appease everybody.
Okay, let me go to Rab here first. Rab?
Yeah, I don't know where this discussion is going to, but I get a little nervous when I hear about changes. You know what? We spent well over a year working on this proposal. Okay? The staff worked their tails off, and so did the council work their tail off to come up to get this letter prepared. It's a lengthy letter. It's got all kinds of information there. The minister will make his decision, and we'll have to live with it, however it goes. But all of a sudden, we're thinking that we have more wisdom than the people that spent the whole years on the front line working. Every decision that was made had to be vetted back to JFAC and had to receive an 80% vote on it. So why are we suddenly thinking that, oh, by the way, we should start contacting Linda, we should contact the minister, and we should say this or that? I'm sorry, I don't agree with that. I'm willing to listen to what the minister has to say. As somebody said earlier, he's got lots of wisdom, and I'm prepared to live with his wisdom. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gary. We're just going to get some clarity here in a second, but I see I got Veronica and Chad and Heather, and Brendan just had his up. So I'm just going to, before we go there, Gary, you can put your hand down. I'm going to go back up to Daryl for a second because I want some clarity on what you just said. So you asked if we had any question marks, any misgivings, more or less, around the application, to contact the minister and have a round table. Kind of loosely worded, but that's what this JFAC is for. If we have issues that we want to talk about, this would be the forum to have that. I wouldn't want to bring in the minister to have a half session where we don't actually know what it is we're going to discuss. That being said, I'm going to carry on to all the table here. So I've got Veronica, then Chad, then Heather. So Councillor Kloiber, you're up.
I'd be fine just with an email to the minister's office asking what the status is, what their timeline is, and a light hinting that please don't push it through as an order in council before we get a decent look at it, which I seriously doubt they would do. It's not like they're gonna. I think the lines of communication are open, but yeah, I think just an email, and I really don't care who does it. I'll do it. But yes, I will CC everyone.
That really is what we're looking for, I think. Councillor Vandenhoek.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think it's important that we have an open line of communication. I mean, like going forward, we only have really 9 meetings left together, and we need to know how we're going to be prepared to move forward. we have a lot of staffing. We have to figure out what's going to happen and how the wheels are going to turn after January 1st, right? So I think it's imperative that we talk to the minister and figure out how what his feelings are and how we should be thinking. And if we do have changes, how we can do it and when we can figure out where to place it. I mean, if we're just going to go, let's do it, and we don't hear from them for 3 months, well, then that's a whole bunch of wasted time that we're just sitting on our thumbs, just not doing anything, knowing how to prepare. I think it's imperative. We send some kind of email and communication, just open up some kind of line to say, what's going on over there? Not just going to sit and wait. So I think it's absolutely silly to just sit there and just wait. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I'm going to go to Councillor Thompson. Before I do that, I'm just going to make a note on what Chad just said. We just sent the letter reconfirming our commitment. So that line of communication, we haven't there's been no dull time. We're constantly in contact with the ministry right now. So I like where this is going in terms of making sure that we're staying in contact. But from the perception of municipal affairs, both administrations and council through the mayors are in contact. So they are being well connected. So there's no lag time, just in case anyone thinks that we've left the ministry alone too long. No, we've definitely been in contact with them through letters and phone calls. So Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, I like Veronica Clover's, Councillor Clover's idea of a simple email. And the reason for that is just to let the ministry know that we're still maybe wanting to communicate different things. And if there's anything that he's going to, any changes that he's going to make, major changes that he may be thinking of making and including in the order of council, that we be made aware of those and possibly be able to have a discussion about those before he does that with the ministry and the reasons why, or amongst ourselves, and see what we can do to help the ministry when they do put the official order in council together.
Okay. Thank you for that, Councillor Thompson. I got Mayor Kelly, then Councillor Waring.
I'm going to pass. Thanks.
Okay. Councillor Waring. You're muted there, big guy.
I sound a lot better when I'm muted, actually. So last September, the previous council sent in this document to the minister applying for amalgamation after an 80% vote in JPAC of the two councils. A couple of weeks ago, new two councils sent another letter to the minister saying, with an 80% vote, we agree with what the previous councils have done. And now we want to send a letter to the minister saying, well, really, we don't. There's a few things there we'd like to change. So I just have a complete and utter problem with this. I really do. We've put the application in. We've asked the minister for what we wanted. After good deliberation, good negotiations together, it's there. Leave it. When the minister comes back, if it's an order in council and we have to do what he says, we have to do it. The work will get done. Things will progress. All we're doing here is sitting, worrying, concerned about things we don't know about. So I'm completely against making any request to the minister to change or talk about changing anything that's gone in. Sorry, that's where I'm at.
Okay, thank you. I've got Councillor Thompson still up and then Councillor Rapp. You're muted, Heather.
You're muted, Heather.
Muted.
I don't think that that's what we're asking for, John. I don't think we're asking for any changes. I think we're asking to be kept in the loop if there's going to be any changes coming forward from the minister, that we be kept in the loop and that we are able to discuss that. I don't think we're going to ask for changes. So just basically asking to be kept in the loop as they're moving along and what the status could be and that kind of thing. I don't think we're, at this point, we're not asking for any changes because I don't think that they're ready to even move forward on anything. So I don't think that that is, Veronica, correct me if I'm wrong, that's not what we're looking for or Daryl, in a letter or an email that would go to the ministry.
Heather, just to follow up on that, we got a letter back from the minister that said, if both councils vote to support the application that's gone in, I will send that application to Cabinet with a recommendation to accept all your terms and conditions. Haven't heard anything different than that. He didn't say, I don't like your date. He didn't say, I don't like the idea of no interim council. He didn't say anything like that. He said what we put in our request, he was going to submit to Cabinet as long as we still agreed, which we said we did. If somebody wants to call the minister on behalf of the two councils, administrations, and ask, how's progress, what's going on, any idea what's going on, I got absolutely no problem with that. It's normal to be interested. It shows interest. But talking about, well, we don't really like this idea of this and this idea of that, forget it, people.
All right, thank you. Okay, so I don't want to go in too many circles here. So the ministry just started again last week, so obviously they're super busy. This is obviously going to be forefront, as Cindy alluded to. She sits on an AMA working committee, so she's talking to a lot of provincial reps quite often. So we are on their radar. I think this is something that myself and Mayor Kelly can handle. To be honest with you guys, like Veronica said, hey, we're open. We want to know exactly what's happening and when. We'd love to be kept as informed as possible so that we feel we're being, courted at the very least through, so that if we see something, we can maybe make some slight adjustment, maybe some suggestions. We could put up a red flag if we really think it's that big. As mayors, we can say, hey, yeah, let's get this one right back to JFAC. But Councillor Waring is also correct. The letter was very clear. If we give support, he's going to move it forward. What the speed of that is, we don't know. So the problem here is we're talking about something that is outside of our control. What we can do, I think, is what Veronica suggested, is ask for as much as possible to be kept in the loop. But I'm going to go to Rab, and I'm going to go to, I saw Sean, but I probably said what Sean was going to say. God only knows. So Rab.
Thanks for a second opportunity to speak, and I'll keep it brief. Communication. Nobody can argue with communication. Clearly, it's really important. You know, Chad said it, Heather said it, Veronica said it. I agree. But let's get serious. We sent our letter, what, 2 or 3 weeks ago? Maybe not even that long ago. Like, panic. Don't panic. Just relax. You know, that's hardly fair time if they had it for a week. Now, the previous JFAC, I mean, prior to the election, we also agreed that there were 2 spokesmen for our group. And those 2 spokesmen were our mayors. At that time, it was a different mayor, but I think that should still stay the same. I think Kelly and Barry should speak for us. I don't think we all need to go send emails and make phone calls, even though some of you probably already have, to the minister and their office. I think that's the responsibility of our leaders, and that's who it should go to. And I'm open for communication, but I think this should be proper channels, and everybody should know about it rather than finding out and say, oh, I talked to so-and-so, or I talked to so-and-so. As Councillor Gordon said about a half an hour ago, I agree with that.
Okay. So I've got to reiterate too, before I come to you, Councillor Dixon, we're well off topic of what our agenda topic was what Mayor Kelly wanted to discuss was the first election date and so on. But we've taken a large tangent based on Councillor Lalande's comment. So slash motion, not sure if there's actually a motion there. But I'm going to go to Councillor Dixon, and then we're just going to come back to Daryl, get some clarity on what it was he actually said and whether there's a motion going to be on the floor, and we will go from there. So, Councillor Dixon.
Yeah, I just think that we need to have a little bit of faith in the process, and we need to have a little bit of faith and respect for the work that's been done up until this point. I don't think anybody was, all this work wasn't done to make things difficult for anybody, and I don't think that the minister is dragging his feet in any way. I think we need to be a little bit more patient, and I know everybody wants to get moving. I do too, but I don't think poking and prodding at anybody is going to make any difference. So we have to have faith in that people know what they're doing. People have done their due diligence, and this will move forward as fast as it possibly can. And nothing we say or do is going to change that.